pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Darian, thank you so much for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I like your tie. Very nice. So you are in the 5th grade at Padgett Elementary.
Yes,
What's
sir.
your favorite subject?
My favorite subject is mostly science.
Science. Very cool. Anything particular that you like about science? Any part of science?
The most particular thing I like about science is, I like when you make the experiments.
When you make the experiments. Very good. And do you have a favorite experiment that you remember? That's okay.
No, sir.
You just like them all, right? So what do you want to do when you grow up? Do you know?
Right now, while I'm a child, I want to be an actor. But when I grow up, I want to be a dancer and a singer.
A dancer and a singer. Very good. So again, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here this afternoon and leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you have anyone here with you that you could introduce?
Yes, I have my beautiful mom. My beautiful mom.
Please stand up.
I have my beautiful grandmother. And I have the most amazing principal ever.
Well, Darren, you're clearly a very fine young man. You've been raised very well. So thank you again for coming here and leading us in the pledge. We appreciate it. Madam Superintendent, do we have any revisions to the agenda?
Yes, we do. Item R41, 2018-2019 Staffing Plan and Organization Charts, revision. Item E33, Learning Resource Center of Polk County, Incorporated, and Hearth Project add item. Then the Attorney's Report, Resolution 2018-2018-7, opposing Amendment 8, add item. That concludes the revisions this evening.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to accept the August 21st, 2018 school board meeting agenda as revised.
So move.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is to accept the August 21st, 2018 school board meeting agenda as revised. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And Madam Superintendent, I think we have some special recognitions.
Yes, we do. I would like to ask School Board Member Billy Townsend to please step to the front for our special recognition. Mrs. Kay Fields will read the proclamation.
I'm excited about this proclamation. Whereas Lakeland, Florida, is the hometown of Kathleen High School graduate Ray Lewis. Whereas Lewis was an All-American linebacker and state champion wrestler at Kathleen High School. Whereas he played on the University of Miami football team before being drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in 1996. Whereas Lewis spent his 17-year career playing with the Baltimore Ravens and twice led his team to win at the Super Bowl. Whereas he was named Defensive Player of the Year in 2000 and 2003, finishing with 2,061 tackles, 41.5 sacks, and 31 interceptions in his career. Whereas Lewis was recently inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a member of the 2018 class and becomes the first from Polk County. Whereas Lewis attributed his success as a professional football player, a leader, and a man to Polk County Public Schools coaches Ernest Joe, Gary Lineberger, and Steve Poole. Again, a leader and a man to Polk County Public Schools coaches Ernest Joe, Gary Lineberger, and Steve Poole. Now, therefore, by the authority vested in the School Board of Polk County, I do hereby proclaim August the 25th, 2018 as Ray Lewis Day. This 21st day of August 2018 by the School Board of Polk County.
I believe we have present with us this afternoon Ray Lewis's mother. Would you like to say anything?
Okay. I would just like saying, giving on to our Lord Jesus Christ, who's first in our life. I just thank him, because without him, none of this would be possible. And when you always put God first in everything, this is what happens. So I just want to say, for my son not able to be here today, and I'm his mother, that, you know, we grew up here. Ray was actually born in Bartow, and right over to the Bartow Hospital. Long story behind that. Believe it or not, 9 pounds, almost 10 ounces. So he still was a big boy. But I just thank God for the honor of us being here, and Clint and everybody in Florida recognizing him for going into the Hall of Fame, because that is an accomplishment where it's only 300 and something. So it's an honor to my heart to birth Ray Lewis, a boy 9 years old. I tell this story, little nappy-head boy would tell me, "Mama, you won't have a worry in the world, just give me a chance." And I said, "Boy, get out my face, you don't know what you're talking about." So if I leave anything today, when your children have a dream, believe in their dream. Trust them, listen to them, follow their heart, and push them towards their dream, and make their dream come true. Because who would have ever believed that nappy-head little boy with the knees in, every time you come home, he's out there playing in the yard. He couldn't play in the grass, had to play in the road, patches in on his pants. So that's what I remember about Ray as a kid, and he always was humble. And I always tell him, if you stay humble and put God first, you can do anything in your life that you need to do. So that's what we need to instill in our kids. Mothers and fathers, it starts at home. Training starts at home. The teachers can't do it all. Let me tell you, I know. So if we train our children to respect the teachers first, when they come back home, you'll be proud of them. But we must train them up. Put the word in them daily. And they made a part, but they're coming back as long as you instill in them. But tell them respect their elders. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Even my church is still say it today. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Teach them. Train them what they should know. Have a blessed day in the Lord. And let Ray Lewis' legacy follow on. Discipline, it was quiet, even when no one is looking, y'all. Baby, discipline, if nobody's looking, do your work. Get your grades. Respect your parents. Respect your teachers, your principal. Don't be one of those kids where they come in and say, "Oh, he ain't going to make it." Oh, yeah, you're going to make it, because you have a dream. You follow your dream into your future. And if you do it for nobody else, do it for them two ladies. Your mother and your grandmother and your principal can come back. That's Ray junior school teacher right there. She's proud of him. So that's all I need to say. Y'all have a blessed day, and thank you.
Thank you. Next, thank you so much for that, and congratulations again. Next, Jeanette Crowley will come forward to recognize the Clark Family Foundation for its contribution to our community school.
Thank you. Congratulations. Crystal Lake Elementary was selected last year to host the first community partnership school program in Polk County based on a number of factors, including existing community partnerships, the physical space to create a health clinic, and to sustain future growth and the public's ability to access services at the school site. Crystal Lake Elementary, a community partnership school, will provide students, their families, and the surrounding community with social services, health care, and other resources. It will be a center of activity beyond just academics by serving the physical, mental, and emotional needs. It's been exciting to see the community work together on this project. This initiative is made possible by a collaboration of 5 organizations, including the school district, Heartland for Children, Central Florida Healthcare, Southeastern University, and the United Way of Central Florida. Polk Vision has been instrumental in facilitating the project and will continue working closely with the core partners in aligning resources to support the students, families, and residents of the Crystal Lake community. Today, Penny Borgia, Chief Impact Officer with United Way of Central Florida, is here to share more exciting news on our partnership. Penny, can you please come up?
We are thrilled to kick off the first Crystal Lake Elementary, a community partnership school in Polk County, and we hope that it will be one of many, although I am told that we shouldn't start thinking about number 2 until we have number 1 up and running full steam. And so I'm okay with that. They said it's a little bit like naming your 3rd child before you were pregnant with your 1st. So right now we are delivering our 1st child, and we are thrilled that the health clinic already has provided immunizations and school physicals and sports physicals even before the clinic opens. We're hoping that the ribbon cutting for the full-service clinic, which includes health, dental, OBGYN, not just for the students and their families, but for the whole Crystal Lake community at large. That ribbon cutting, we hope, will be October 26th. And it took a lot. It was 2 years. It'll be 2 years in November, this community study involving hundreds of people coming together with the support of many of you on this board. John Small was tremendous. Superintendent, you have been fabulous. Your facilities group working with us has been just anything that was needed was provided for us. But we didn't have any money. And so we were going to coordinate and we were going to direct all of these new services, but you can't direct new services without new money. And so the United Way of Central Florida approached first the George Jenkins Foundation, and $100,000 was provided for the director's salary. Andrea Hagan is there, functioning as the director of the Community Partnership School, and pays her salary, benefits, training, and all related expenses to her job responsibilities. The United Way of Central Florida put out an RFP. We will that's due on September 4th, $120,000 in new services for financial stability, behavioral health services, substance abuse and mental illness, family counseling, student counseling, and tutor and mentoring will be new services in the Crystal Lake area. And finally, we have $200,000 from the Clark Family Foundation. $100,000 of it will be awarded directly to Polk County Public Schools to pay for the salary and benefits of the after-school coordinator, and $100,000 has been awarded as a health coordinator to Central Florida Healthcare, so that our systems can all be coordinated and collaborative without duplicating any services and stretching those dollars to make them as valuable as we possibly can. So I would like to introduce to you this evening to Elizabeth Clark Taylor. Elizabeth is a Clark Family Foundation board director and daughter of the late David M. Clark, founder of the Clark Family Foundation. Liz is a graduate of both Polk State College and Florida Southern College and was named Polk County's Philanthropist of the Year in 2017 by the Association of Fundraising Professionals for her philanthropic endeavors in a number of organizations throughout Polk County. She is also the board president of the Iron Horse Family Foundation, a successor foundation of the Clark Family Foundation. The Iron Horse Family Foundation will be launching soon, so watch for some more news on that, and will be based in Lakeland. B.J. Taylor, Liz's husband, is a cardiac perfusionist. I practiced saying that a couple of times. At Winter Haven Hospital, and serves as a board director of the Iron Horse Family Foundation. Together, Liz and B.J. are the proud parents of 3 children, all of whom have benefited from Polk County Public Schools over the years. So thank you all for that. Alice Kaler joins them as well. She is the Chief Development Officer of Lakeland Volunteers in Medicine, a community volunteer, and joins us today in her capacity as Taylor Family's Executive Assistant. So thank you all.
Thank you for having us here today. First, I would like to say thank you to Polk County Schools for being one of the 5 organizations helping out this initiative. My late father, started the foundation to help children's health and well-being, and he wanted to help as many children as he could. And education has always been very important to my father, but he also understood to be educated, a child needs to be fed, to be clothed, to know their parents are taken care of. And it takes a village. It takes the school board. It takes people like us coming in from private foundations and giving. It takes all of us to make sure our community is taken care of. Because how can you be happy and happy in your community if others aren't happy along with you? So the Clark Family Foundation wants to help others and help children and keep my dad's legacy alive. So thank you all, and thank you for what you're doing also.
Pictures. I know. Thank you. Would our senior coordinator of athletics, Dan Talbot, will now come forward to recognize Ray Lewis Day.
Thank you, Superintendent Byrd, and to the school board. It's always great, I love my job and have the position. I've always been an advocate that no matter what kids do, if they get involved in anything, the more success rate they can have. And to have Ray Lewis Day and to have the first ever NFL Hall of Famer in our district is a truly a proud moment. And we are very fortunate to have Ray Lewis come from Kathleen High School, and we are very proud. And when students leave our district and they grow and come back, so Saturday will be a great day. Many people are involved in this. Our main event is at Kathleen High School at 2 o'clock on Saturday. We'd like to invite everyone out. Ray Lewis will be there. It's going to be part of a full day of festivities around Polk County honoring Ray Lewis coming home. And no better place where we can go back to for Ray would be at Kathleen High School, and that's where we'll end the day, and there's some other festivities. But I'd like to call up Mr. Clinton Glover, who our community, and he's kind of been the forefront for this Ray Lewis Day, and he's going to explain. It's a 2-day process, the Friday golf tournament, and then the full day of events on Saturday for Ray Lewis. So, Mr. Glover, please come forward. Yes, sir.
2-day weekend for Ray Lewis. I'm the co-organizer for Ray Lewis Hall of Fame Weekend Lakeland. I had the honor of being in Canton, and I got a chance to raise our banners saying Ray Lewis, hometown guy, and ESPN picked it up as well as the NFL channel. So everyone is awaiting Ray's arrival this weekend. Friday, golf tournament. We're going to be at Cleveland Heights, a shotgun start of 8 o'clock. We do have other teams available because I look like there are a lot of golfers in here. So, and Saturday is the big day. We're going to name buildings, or the city and the county are going to name things in Ray honor. We're going to first start at Polk County Sports Marketing. They're going to enshrine him from high school to the Hall of Fame there. Then next we're moving to Cook Field. They're going to do a ribbon cutting ceremony where the mayor, the city officials will be there. Then we're going to motorcade him. We have Lakeland Police Department and the Sheriff Department is going to motorcade us to the different locations. So everybody really is involved and buzz about Ray's arrival. Then we're going to go to Simpson Park. He's going to take a look at what he needs to do there. We're trying to get Amazon, Microsoft to donate computers. Ray said he wanted to come home and do things for the community. And this is the appropriate time for him to come. Then we're going to leave Simpson Park. We're headed to Kathleen. And that's where he's going to speak to all his fans. He's invited a number of celebrities, Derek Brooks, Randy Moss. We expect Steve DeVerd. We have a lot of NFL local players are coming to Lakeland to join forces with Ray. So this is a proud moment in our city, in our county. Okay, so I'm excited, and if I knew how to do cartwheels, I'll do it all the way back. Okay, and thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to this weekend. Mr. Chair, this concludes my recognitions for today.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. In a moment, I'm going to invite any individual from the audience who would like to come forward and to speak to items on the agenda. But before I do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about decorum at school board meetings. We actually invite speakers to come forward at 2 times during the meeting, one before we vote on agenda items, and that's for the specific purpose of allowing folks an opportunity to discuss those items, to share their concerns, their frustrations, and so forth, their criticisms as it relates to items that the board's going to be voting on. In addition to that, we have an opportunity for speakers to speak, to comment at the end of the meeting, and those comments are related to anything that's pertinent to district business. I've been having the discussion about decorum with Mr. Bridges, and he was kind enough to provide state statute as well as board policy to me, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that just very briefly. State statute specifically mandates that we allow our community an opportunity to talk to items that are on the agenda, items that are going to be coming before the board for a board vote, and understandably so. It's important that our community tell us how they feel about those items we're going to be voting on. In addition to that, state statute specifically discusses decorum at school board meetings. As I read through that statute, it's clear to me that our legislators intended 2 things. They intended that individuals have an opportunity to address issues on the agenda, as well as maintain appropriate decorum. It's my experience that as long as folks are focused on issues, and as long as folks do not focus on personalities and on individuals, that decorum is not a problem. Decorum seems to deteriorate when folks tend to focus on individuals and personalities. In addition to that, state law does not specifically allow for comments unrelated to items that are on the agenda. That's a Polk County School District policy, because we think it's important that we hear from our community. So we very much want the members of our community, we very much want our folks in our community to come forward, share your thoughts, your concerns, share your criticisms, and we like to hear the good things too, by the way, so you're welcome to share those things. We very much encourage you to do that, but I'm going to ask that folks stay focused on the issues, and that speakers not address board members directly. This is not a forum for that. There are other forums that are most appropriate for that. This is not one of them. So as you come forward tonight to speak, please direct your comments towards me as board chair, not to any particular board member, not to the superintendent or her staff. If it's necessary for the superintendent to become involved, we'll collaborate on that and make sure that we have someone work with you to address any issues you might have. Our board policy also does not allow board members to respond to comments from members of the community, from speakers that are coming forward. So please keep that in mind. All we ask is very simple. Stay focused on the issues. Please don't focus on personalities. Please don't make direct comments, or don't direct comments, personal comments at the board members, the superintendent, or her staff. Now, thank you in advance for complying with those. They're not really rules; there are policies. Complying with those policies. So at this time, anyone who would like to come forward and talk about to any item on the agenda, any item that we're going to be voting on this evening, please do so. We have any speakers? Okay. In that case, we'll move to approval of minutes. We have 4 sets of minutes. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the July 24, 2018 tentative budget meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the minutes of the July 24, 2018 tentative budget meeting. What's the pleasure of all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is approval of the minutes of the July 31st, 2018 work session. What's the?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the minutes of the July 31st, 2018 work session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is approval of the minutes of the July 31st, 2018 school board meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And that, by the way, was approval of the minutes of the July 31st, 2018 school board meeting. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the July 31st, 2018 special school board meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the minutes of the July 31st, 2018 school board meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda for August 21st, 2018.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The motion on the floor is approval of the consent agenda for today's meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a motion to name Building 41 at Kathleen High School the Ray Lewis Athletic Building. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Oh, excuse me. I apologize. My mistake. We're going to back up here. I was so excited about the Ray Lewis.
There's no hesitation
name.
there. It's just,
Yeah.
we just got to go back.
So we have some new administrators. I'm sorry, Madam Superintendent, new administrators.
We do have some, and it's okay to have that excitement because we are all excited for Ray. I am pleased to recommend the appointment of Amy Slosky, the Assistant Principal of Kathleen Middle. Ms. Slosky previously served as Acting Assistant Principal at Kathleen Middle School. She attended Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania, earning a bachelor's degree in education. She went on to earn her master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Welcome and congratulations.
I just want to say thank you to the board. Thank you, Superintendent Byrd, for this opportunity to continue at Kathleen Middle School. Also, I'd like to say thank you to my coworkers. There's some in the room that I've had the pleasure of working with throughout the years, and they really have helped me form who I am today, gave me lots of opinions throughout the years. Also to my current principal, Mrs. Gregory, Sheila Gregory, she has given me so many different opportunities to become the assistant principal that I am today. And lastly, my husband, he's somewhere in the audience back there, Steve Schlosky, just for going along on this journey with me and helping me with my stresses and listening and being a great husband. So thank you.
Congratulations again, Amy. Next, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Cheryl Hill as principal of Walter Caldwell Elementary. Ms. Hill previously served as the acting principal of Walter Caldwell Elementary. She attended Nova Southeastern University, earning a bachelor's degree in exceptional student education. She went on to earn her master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you to the board, and also thank you to Superintendent Byrd, to all our regionals, and thank you to everyone. As I look around the room, I see so many colleagues and friends, so many people that have helped me in this journey, answering emails, encouraging me, taking my text messages and phone calls, praying me off the ledge when things got a little rough, and crying along with me, and celebrating with me as well. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you to my family. Thank you. My daughter Jennifer is here. My husband had a previous engagement, and he couldn't make it, but all my Caldwell family came, and all my old friends from the property appraiser's office came, so they just came to celebrate me, and I'm super excited to serve at Caldwell.
Congratulations. Next, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Sarah Van Hook as Assistant Principal of Highland City Elementary. Ms. Van Hook previously served as the literacy coach and math coach at Spessard Holland Elementary. She attended Warner University, earning a bachelor's degree in educational studies. She went on to earn her master's degree in educational leadership from the American College of Education. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Superintendent Byrd and board, I'd like to thank you and Ms. Townley and Ms. Weingarth for giving me the opportunity to serve the students of Polk County in this capacity. I'd also like to thank Ms. Butler, who's been my principal at Spessard Holland and has really laid a great foundation for me to be an administrator. Today I have with me my parents, Jack Wyatt and Pam Wyatt, who's a recent retiree of the Polk County school system, my in-laws, Kim and Keith Van Hook, my husband, Blake, and our 3 children, Cadence, Killian, and Cannon, and Amy, my current principal now. So thanks so much again for this opportunity.
Thank you. Congratulations again. Next, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Carol Griffin as principal of Oscar J. Pope Elementary. Ms. Griffin previously served as the acting principal of Oscar J. Pope Elementary. She attended Bethune-Cookman College, earning a bachelor's degree in business education. She went on to earn her master's degree in educational leadership from the University of South Florida. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Byrd, and to the board members for this opportunity to serve our students at Polk County Schools. I've had a year as an acting principal. Didn't feel like I was acting, but it was a great year. So I look forward to many years. I brought the thunder. Wow. Okay, remember that, Mr. Huntley. I brought the thunder. Okay, you needed your laugh for this afternoon. But I look forward to many years of serving our students. I asked a long time ago, I asked someone, what was my gift? And the person told me, my gift is what you're passionate about. And the person asked me, well, what are you passionate about? And I said, I'm passionate about children. So I'm in the right place at the right time. So thank you again. You want to know who was with me?
Yes.
Just like we said, we have a village. Well, I have a village with me. I have my supporters. This lady took me on as her big sister many years ago when I was just a little girl, and that's Charlene Brinson. Octavia May was supposed to be here. I don't know if she's here, but she's my little sister. I have my secretary, Charlene Tributtino, and I have the other half of C Squared, my assistant principal, Charlie Huntley, Alex Miller, who is our SAC rep, my kindergarten chair, Ms. Hope Sims, who wants to make sure everybody knows she's here. And of course, I have my first principal that hired me as a teacher, Pat Barnes at Mulberry Middle School. And this lady took a chance on me, didn't have any elementary experience, but she saw something in me, and she started me on my road to being an administrator. And I'm glad she's here, and that's Evelyn Holland. I have my mentor principal here, Julie Ward, and my partner who worked with me side by side at Rochelle's School of the Arts, that's Mr. Lee Brackman. He's here. And of course, I have my, where's Julie? There she is, okay. And then, of course, I have my family. I have my granddaughter, Angel Hatley, my oldest daughter, Erica Gardner, and last but not least, my biggest cheerleader, my fan, who I always say is the wind beneath my wings. And he supported me through this journey. And that's my husband of 37 years, been with him 40, and that's Joe Griffin, who's the principal of Jesse Keene Elementary. Awesome. So thank you so much. And Ms. Kay Fields, that's all I need to say. All right, she knows I love her. Thank you so much.
Congratulations again. Next, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Michael Wiggins as Director of District Safety Specialist. I did not say captain. They have captain here, but Mike Wiggins previously served as the commander of the Bureau of Primary and Secondary Schools for Polk County Sheriff's Office, as well as the director of Safe Schools for the Polk County Public Schools. He attended the University of South Florida, earning a bachelor's degree in criminology. He went on to earn his master's degree in criminal justice. Welcome and congratulations.
I'm going to pause for some thunder to see what happens. Nothing? Okay. Thank you. I'd like to thank the board and the superintendent for this opportunity. The past 2 years, I've made a lot of great friends working in the school board. I'm happy to continue in that role, and I'd like to thank Rob Davis for his support during that time. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again for the last time, Captain Wiggins, and then I'll officially start saying Mike. Last but not least, I would like to recommend for appointment Patricia J. Barnes as Regional Assistant Superintendent of the Office of School Improvement. Mrs. Barnes previously served as the Executive Principal for the Office of School Improvement. She attended Lincoln University, earning a bachelor's degree in health, physical education, recreation, and dance. She went on to earn her master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Berg. Thank you to the board, Mr. Wilson, and everyone. I'm going to tell you a little joke. We were sitting there, and they said I was going first, and so they were going to all take a lead from me. I went last, so I'm not well, I brought Thunder, but I'll introduce him later. I'm really pleased. This is my 30th year. Many of you sitting up here in the semicircle have seen me many times, and so I'm so excited to be able to serve in this capacity and to continue to help not only the youth within our district, but the fine teachers, the outstanding administrators, and serve with the superintendent. Who knows what the future's going to hold? That's all I can say. I am married to a wonderful man who is not like everyone else in the school system. And sometimes that's good, because I can come home and talk about other things. So he came with me this afternoon. That's my husband, Randy Barnes, whom I'm very, very proud of, and I think he's proud of me too. And we have 3 children that came through Polk County schools, and I'm just going to brag on them a minute because my daughter's in medical school as a result of the fine job done here, right here at Harrison and Rochelle School of the Arts, 1 year at Wendell Watson, and she's at Howard Medical School. My other daughter has graduated from FAMU, and she's got a marketing degree. She needs a job, y'all, but she has a marketing degree. And my son is a reverend and owns his own business in Atlanta, and I have another son that's an attorney, married to an attorney, so I got that sewn up. So we're proud of all that Polk County has had to offer us, and I thank you again. I'm going to do the very best job that I can for you continually. And see how God works? Love him. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the new administrators, but please don't leave before we get a group picture, please. One group picture. If we can have everyone down front all together. Yes, Amy. Go first. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, are we ready to go? So now we're ready to name a building.
Yeah.
that really threw the timing of my thunder shots off because those were supposed to happen during
that,
the
right?
village. So we'll try to get back on track here. The next item on the agenda is naming of building number 41 at Kathleen High School, the Ray Lewis Athletic Building. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, I would like to say before the motion is placed before the board, what an honor it is to be able to name a building after a wonderful young man, and I call him young man because I know him when he was a little boy at Kathleen High School, young man. I watched the televised induction of Ray, and I was just amazed. His mom talked about how humble he was. He was humble the night of. And what was most impressive for me was when he recognized Coach Joe and Coach Lineberger and Coach Poole. And he talked about Kathleen High School and the impact that it made in his life. And he talked about his mom and the sacrifices that she made and how she sent him back to Polk County with very little. But he was determined that he was going to be somebody, and he was going to ultimately take care of his mom, and he's been able to do that. And he talked about his brothers and the impact that they made in his life. Everybody was there. His daughter introduced him. It was just an amazing experience. I wish I had been there. And Mr. Glover, we did see your sign, straight from Lakeland. We saw it. And so I'm honored today to present to the board for approval the naming of Building 41 at Kathleen High School, the Ray Lewis Athletic Building. And it has been recommended by the Kathleen High School administration, the staff, and the SAC committee, and you will see an attached list of the members of the SAC committee. So I move that we name Building 41 at Kathleen High School, the Ray Lewis Athletic Building.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields, for that motion, and thank you for the second. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Anyone else have any comments they'd like to make? Okay, so the motion on the floor is to name Building 41 at Kathleen High School, the Ray Lewis Athletic Building. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is approval of the Learning Resource Center and Hearth Project contract not to exceed $9,000 per year for 3 years, $27,000 total. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Motion on the floor is approval of the Learning Resource Center and Hearth Project contract not to exceed $9,000 per year for 3 years. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval of the Title IV Part A Student Support and Academic Enrichment Continuation Grant in the amount of $2,291,389.27. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Motion on the floor is to approve the Title IV Part A Student Support and Academic Enrichment Continuation Grant in the amount of $2.3 million. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval of the SIG-4 grant application in the amount of $1,045,622. What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Motion on the floor is approval of the SIG-4 grant application in the amount of $1,045,622. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is approval of the UNISIG grant application in the amount of $2,010,318.75. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, sir. Mr. Harris.
I'm going to vote for this time, but I have serious reservations because there have been many people who have expressed concern about the management of our custodial services, and I trust and hope that when this contract comes up for renewal, that there be strong, advanced conversation before a vote is ever taken.
Okay.
I believe we're on a different
Thank you,
item.
Mr. Harris. I think that's the next item,
Yep,
I
that's
believe.
the next item.
Aramark.
Aren't you on 37?
No.
R35, the UNISIG grant application.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Apologies.
So The motion on the floor is approval of the UNICEF grant application in the amount of $2 million, $2,010,318.75. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is acceptance of the amendment to the 2018 Aramark Master Agreement as presented. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Townsend?
Yeah, sort of to pick up on Board Member Harris's point, but to expand it a bit. The way this contract works, and we talked about this morning, this contract has already renewed. There was a date in April by which time we had to announce we were not going to renew it. We missed that date. It just didn't come before us to be addressed. After that date, some folks came to me, and I think came to some other folks as well. Some of our custodial folks to talk about their concerns with the performance of the contractor. And there is a capacity for us to potentially get out of this contract or change this contract, but that would have to be negotiated, and there would have to be some penalties paid, I suspect. In the short term, what this does is it adds a whole bunch of quality measures to what the contractor is agreeing to. Again, I agree largely with Board Member Harris here. If the timing on this was different, we might be having a different vote tonight. But in the short term, this should get some improvement for our folks, which is what I care the most about. And I do want us to take a very close look at how this contract works, what the concerns are, what reforms can be, and what our options are moving ahead. But because this creates some benefit for our folks immediately, and please, somebody correct my understanding on this if I'm wrong. But I'm going to support it with the caveat that I'm not terribly pleased with what I've been hearing about this contractor.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Mrs. Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, am supporting this. I made the motion tonight because we had reservations, I think, all the board members, regarding this company and how they have performed and worked with our staff and our employees. And Ms. Usher, I thought, today in our work session did a really great job of bringing us up to date regarding the discussions that she has had with management at Aramark and some of the improvements that we feel need to be done. In addition to that, I did request of staff that prior to this going in 5 years being renegotiated or automatically being redone, the contract, that we go ahead and have a good 6 to 8 months, 9 months timeline prior to that to be able to view the issues that are going on at that time and be able to deal with it more proactively, I think, than we were able to do this time. But I have full confidence in Ms. Usher and her team. They're aware of the situations that the employees have brought to all of us, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to work most of this out by talking and sitting around the table one-on-one. So thank you, Ms. Usher, for updating us this morning, and I will be supporting this as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Cunningham. Mrs. Fields?
I just want to add to what Ms. Cunningham said, is in addition to that, we had talked about a survey being done, an anonymous survey, that we could get feedback from the staff, and so we are looking forward to that survey being done within the next, I would imagine, 6 months to a year, and getting the results there, along with the added items that's before us today. It's not really, has not been read, but it's here in the motion, and there are a lot of items here that should hopefully enhance what is already being done. We have work to do in this area, and we understand that and recognize it, and I think all of the board members are on the same page here, as well as the superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Mr. Townsend, do you have additional comments?
Just wanted to add on one note to what Board Member Cunningham said. I think we've learned a lesson on this as an organization as a whole. It's not just this contract. I hope that we're going to be having a regular renewal awareness pattern too. We talked about any significant contract that has any significant date that's multi-years out, having sort of an automatic trigger built in to review that. So I think that's a policy and a process improvement that I think the board expects, and I think that you're going to see.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. So the motion on the floor is to accept the amended 2018 Aramark Master Agreement. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is R37. I should have been calling out these numbers. I apologize, Mr. Harris. And this is approval of the contract for performance matter teaching and learning in the amount of $2,676,177.64. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Townsend.
This sort of falls into the same bucket. I mean, it doesn't fall into the same bucket as the contract we just did, but it's one of those contracts in which multiple years from now, ahead of its renewal, significantly, we're going to be reviewing what's been done. I just wanted to give you an example of the type of this is what we discussed this morning, and this is an example of it.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Any further comments? So the motion on the floor is approval of the contract for performance matters teaching and learning in the amount of $2,676,177.64. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R38, and this is to accept conveyance of property near Lincoln Avenue Elementary through a quitclaim deed from the city of Lakeland. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just have a comment. I asked about this. It was a little unusual that we're getting property back, but apparently this is something we need to help with some busing lanes, as I understand it.
Well, the gist of it was that the traffic was pretty horrendous during a dismissal time, and a lot of the vehicles was blocking the residents' driveways, and so they had asked for help, and along with the city of Lakeland, we were able to do that, working with Ms. Holland and her staff. They did a very good job working along with Ms. Usher and her team, so we were able to get it accomplished. So, and then they gave us the property.
Very good.
So it should be a smooth traffic pattern now, much better than before.
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Fields. So this is quite timely.
Yes.
So the motion on the floor is to accept conveyance of property near Lincoln Avenue Elementary through a quitclaim deed from the city of Lakeland. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R39, and this is approval of the agreement extension with Southeastern University for use of property at Crystal Lake Middle School as overflow parking for SEU events. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The motion on the floor is approval of the agreement extension with Southeastern University for the use of property at Crystal Lake Middle School as overflow parking for SEU students. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R40, and this is approval of conveyance of property near Shelley Boone Middle and Haines City High School to the Board of County Commissioners for sidewalk improvements. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Motion on the floor is approval of the conveyance of property near Shelby Boone Middle and Haines City High School to the Board of County Commissioners for sidewalk improvements. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R41, and this is approval of the 2018-2019 district staffing plan and organizational charts for the school year.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the 2018-2019 district staffing plan and organizational charts. All in favor? Oops, excuse me. We do have a comment from Mrs. Fields.
I just wanted to kind of restate what was said this morning in our work session, is that initially I thought we had a savings of like $200,000 from positions not being filled or whatever adjustments were made, and I think Ms. Tedra clarified it was $170,000, I believe. So I just want to make it known that we take seriously our positions and making sure that we are using our monies wisely and as much going into the classroom as possible. So I wanted to commend Ms. Jackie and her team for their hard work with that.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Are there any additional comments? So the motion on the floor is approval of the 2018-2019 district staffing plan and organizational chart. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Superintendent, do you have a report for us?
Just one briefly. I want to say welcome back to everyone, and we're now second week of school already. But I want to thank everyone for making sure that we got all our children in school and got them home safely during the first week, and we look forward to another terrific year. Our next work session will be held at 12:30 on Tuesday, September the 4th, 2018, in the Superintendent's Conference Room, followed by the school board meeting at 5 p.m. in the board auditorium at 1915 South Floor Avenue, Bartow, Florida. There will be a work session at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, September the 18th in the Superintendent's Conference Room. The school board retreat will be held at the Lakeland Clinic on Tuesday, September 25th, 2018 from 9 to 4 p.m. That concludes my announcements for today.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Mr. Bridges?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the work session last month, I was asked to bring to the school board a draft resolution, which would be resolution number 2018-2019-07, opposing Amendment 8. You will all recall that this is the year for the Constitution Revision Commission, and they brought a number of proposals back. And Amendment 8 would wrap, essentially it's one amendment, but it wraps three unrelated topics together. One would authorize entities other than the school board to operate and control public schools. It would also impose term limits on school board members and invent a constitutional requirement beyond the existing statutory requirement for civics education in Florida. And I prepared that and brought it to you. As we mentioned this morning, the League of Women Voters filed suit in the Circuit Court of Leon County to enjoin Amendment 8. And the Circuit Court Judge John C. Cooper ruled in their favor. That does not take it out of play, however. The state has already filed its notice of intent to appeal, which stays that, and we expect that it will likely make its way through the Supreme Court of the state of Florida before the election cycle. Thus, this resolution has not been mooted, and if you wish to stand with other school districts who have adopted similar resolutions to show their opposition to Amendment 8, it is proposed for that purpose. At this time, I am aware that Lee, Sarasota, and St. Lucie counties have adopted substantially similar language. Duval County has also adopted a resolution which is a little different because their county government is structured differently than ours. But this is presented to you tonight for your consideration, and if you wish to oppose Amendment 8, you would do so by voting in favor of the resolution, which we would then communicate to the Florida School Boards Association and other entities.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. I'd like you to read that into the record, but should we have a motion and a second first?
Why don't we do that? Yes, sir.
Okay. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution that we spoke about earlier today.
So moved. Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Bridges, would you read that into the record, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution number 2018-2019-07, opposing Amendment 8. Whereas the Florida Constitution Revision Commission has proposed an amendment to the Florida Constitution, Amendment 8, that will appear on the November 2018 general election ballot. And whereas Amendment 8 would amend Article 9, Section 4, and would create a new section in Article 12 of the state constitution, which, if approved by voters, would authorize the establishment of public schools operated, controlled, and supervised by an entity other than the elected school board, would limit school board members to 2 consecutive 4-year terms in office, and would require the legislature to provide for the promotion of civic literacy and public education. And whereas Amendment 8 appears to authorize an entity other than the elected school board to establish a traditional public school, a charter school, a school of hope, and/or other public school choice options, and whereas transferring the authority to establish a public school to an entity or entity that is not elected denies taxpayers, families, and communities any means to hold the authorizing entity fiscally and programmatically accountable, and whereas transferring the authority to establish a public school to an entity other than the school district would permit and encourage the creation of a parallel system of free public schools which threatens the state's ability to comply with the constitutional mandate for a uniform system of free public schools. And whereas Amendment 8 would permit and encourage a process to establish a public school without regard to the need for, desire for, or appropriateness of the new school, which threatens the state's ability to comply with the constitutional mandate for an efficient system of free public schools. And whereas an additional public school authorizing entity is neither necessary nor desirable, since Florida is a national leader in public and private school choice options, including more than 3,500 traditional public schools, more than 650 charter schools, 5 existing private school scholarships programs, and a state policy of open enrollment. And whereas Amendment 8 does not clearly explain the possible implications of authorizing an alternate entity to establish public schools. And whereas term limits are typically imposed to encourage more competitive races and or to reduce the power of incumbency, and whereas a review of the election results for the last 4 general election cycles reveals that most school board races, an average of 65%, are competitive, involving 2 or more legitimate, active, and viable candidates. And whereas a substantial number of all school board races, an average of 41%, result in the election of a new school board member, showing that few, if any, school board members are shielded by incumbency. And whereas imposing term limits on school board members is not necessary based on objective data that clearly shows that voters have imposed natural term limits on school board members, and it has resulted in a healthy balance of both new and experienced perspectives on our school boards. And whereas Amendment 8 unfairly imposes term limits on only one group of constitutional officers from among several similar groups of constitutional officers and local elected officials. And whereas the promotion and instruction in civic literacy is already well established in Florida statutes, incorporated into the Florida standards, and measured by Florida's statewide standardized assessment system. And whereas civic literacy is well entrenched and promoted in Florida, and it is not necessary to further enshrine civic literacy in the state constitution. And whereas amendments to the Florida Constitution should be necessary, fair, desirable, and clearly understandable, now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of Polk County, Florida is opposed to Amendment 8 because it is not necessary, is not fair, is not desirable, and is not clearly understandable.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Are there any further comments related to the motion on the floor? So the motion on the floor is a resolution in opposition of Amendment 8. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Mrs. Matthews, do you have a report? And Mr. Bridges, I'm assuming you will distribute that appropriately?
Yes, we'll have it signed by yourself and the superintendent of schools, and then we'll distribute it.
Thank you. Ms. Matthews?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I previously submitted the annual audit plan for your review. The internal audit charter requires school board approval of an annual audit plan within 60 days of the beginning of each fiscal year. We use a risk-based approach in creating the audit plan and cover as many areas as possible with our limited resources. The Internal Audit Services Department consists of a staff auditor, a senior auditor, and myself as the director. Factors such as employee turnover and unscheduled audits and investigations may affect our work priorities and timelines. Therefore, audit plans must be flexible to account for these unanticipated demands. Any significant deviation from the approved audit plan will be communicated to the board through periodic activity reports. With that, I am requesting your approval of the 2018-2019 internal audit plan. Thank you.
Thank you. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mrs. Cunningham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to take a minute, as I did in work session, and publicly thank you, Ms. Matthews, for all of the work that you do on behalf of the school district. In reviewing the list that you provided in that plan, it is quite rigorous, as it always is, and with the limited resources that you have and with staff turnover, your department never ceases to amaze me how you work so diligently to protect the dollars that our taxpayers give us and to ensure that they're being spent wisely. So I just want to say thank you, because I know it's a thankless job day in and day out, but you always rise to the occasion, and you work so hard, and your efforts and your departments are very much appreciated. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Cunningham. I appreciate that. I would like to publicly thank Kelly Spears, my senior internal auditor. She has been with me for 3.5 years now, and she does an excellent job. So
awesome.
Thank you, Mrs. Cunningham and Mrs. Matthews. Are there any further comments? So the motion on the floor is approval of the 2018-2019 Internal Audit Services Audit Plan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And thank you, Mrs. Matthews. Did you have any other comments or reports? Thank you. So at this time, we'll go to board members' reports. Mr. Townsend?
Just very briefly, I wanted to give a shout out to the very thorough job that our PR folks are doing with the testing and creation of the new website. Was able to go out late last week and help them with some user testing. I think the new site is good. It's just night and day compared to the old one. Can't wait for it to be online. And I hope that folks appreciate how thorough they are being in trying to create it and map it and get it to where when the public goes to use it, that is intuitive, that you can find what you want. It really is our prime interface with the community, and I'm really proud of what it's going to be. So thanks for the good work and for all the work going on behind the scenes to make it really function well.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Mrs. Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wow. I read when I came back from vacation that the Polk County School District has achieved a B. We are a B district. So to Superintendent Byrd, let me say bravo to you for bringing us to a B. Yes. And when I looked up B in the dictionary and the thesaurus, some of the words that came to mind, the first one I thought of was bold. We have bold teachers, we have bold administrators, we have bold staff, we have bold bus drivers, we have bold custodians, we have bold cafeteria workers, we have bold paras, you name it, we are bold. And we also have folks that are brave, adventurous, courageous, daring, fearless, resolute, heroic, strong, and impactful. And I am so proud that a year ago we went to a stadium and we said, Polk County School District, mission possible. And guess what we achieved? Mission possible. We moved for 12 years. We've been a C, and we finally moved to a B. And I can remember coming to one of my first board retreats and saying that I wanted the board and I wanted our school district to be an A. People looked at me like I had horns on my head. Well, guess what? We have moved up, and this is temporary. I know the B, it's awesome, and we need to celebrate it. But eventually, I know that we will be an A, and we are going to make that because our kids deserve it. And it's all the employees and the staff that work for us that deserve that same bravo, Superintendent, as you, because everybody has worked so hard. The momentum is there, and we are going to continue that. So to all of you listening, whatever part we all small played along the way, we are a B. We are bold, and bravo to each and every one of you. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Cunningham. Mrs. Sellers?
Thank you. I just want to welcome everybody back, as the superintendent did. It feels like an exciting new year. And I also want to thank our superintendent, along with our sheriff, Grady Judd, for the great hard work they did in making our schools even safer for our kids. I see lots of people are very happy with the work that's being done, and they're just seeing the work that the general public sees. Behind the scenes, I know our superintendent and I know our sheriff is working to do everything, and much of what we do is not public, shouldn't be public, but I see layers and layers of things happening to keep our kids safe. And so I want to thank you for the good work. It was an example of two leaders coming together and working very hard and diligently, even under great criticism at the time. So I appreciate you. Thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Sellers. Ms. Reynolds?
I have a couple of things. First, on August 2nd, a few of us attended the Back to School bus driver in service, and it is incredibly impressive to see how much our bus drivers really love our kids and love what they do. A few of them that we were talking to, they also have really clean driving records, which, I mean, some of them have not had an accident in 28 years, I think was the longest one, which is a really long time. So I was most impressed by that. But Ms. Sellers and I were talking to some of them, and several of them have been driving 20, 25, 30 years, and that is just so impressive to me because we know it's a thankless job. So thank you to all of our bus drivers. Secondly, just to piggyback off of what Ms. Sellers was saying about our security plan, I want to thank Mrs. Bird for going above and beyond to make sure we had everything together this summer. It's amazing talking to other school board members in other districts that are still scurrying around trying to figure out what they're going to do, that we already have presentations of what we're doing and we're already ready. And a lot of that is that Ms. Bird gave the autonomy to our staff to do their jobs and do them well, and they've done just that. So we greatly appreciate you believing in our staff and giving them that opportunity. And I think that is all for me.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Mrs. Fields?
I just had a couple items. I wanted to congratulate the administrators who came before us today. It was just very uplifting. And Ms. Jackie and your team, thank you guys for making sure that we have great representation throughout the district. And I also wanted to thank Mr. Glover. He's gone now, but Mr. Glover's been working extremely hard over the last, seems like 6 months, trying to make sure that the Ray Lewis Day that will be held on this upcoming weekend is going to be a great day. So we're encouraging everyone from the community to come out and to support and to let Ray Lewis know how much we love and appreciate him and what he's been able to do for our community. And I think the biggest thing, how proud he is of Kathleen High School. And we want to make him understand that we're proud as well of him, and just be respectful of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fields. Mr. Harris?
I would like to continue tonight my series of highlighting board policies. We operate under our set of policies, which you can find on the school district's webpage under district info, and then when you get there, just scroll down to board policies and click there. We also operate under Robert's Rules of Order, and I'd like to introduce one of those tonight also. Go back to 0123, Standards for Boardsmanship, to highlight one of those again tonight. As a member of the school board, each board member shall promote the best interest of the school district as a whole, and to that end, each board member shall adhere to the following educational and ethical standards. B, bring about desired change through legal and ethical procedures, upholding and enforcing all laws, State Board of Education policies, and court orders pertaining to schools. And then policy 0124, Standards of Ethical Conduct. The school board hereby establishes the following as the standards of ethical conduct for all members of the board. A board member shall, number 9, keep in confidence personally identifiable information obtained in the course of professional service unless disclosure serves professional purposes or is required by law. 10, a board member shall make reasonable precautions to distinguish between personal views and those of any educational institution or organization with which the individual is affiliated. A Board members shall, 11, not intentionally distort or misrepresent facts concerning an educational matter in direct or indirect public expression. And now, part of this real thick book, Robert's Rules of Order, when you go to chapter 12, decorum in debate. Long section, but I just want to boil it down, and you heard the chair speak of decorum earlier tonight. I'd like to boil it down into breach of decorum. A violation of established social norms or expectations, especially as relates to polite society, propriety and good taste in conduct or appearance, dignified propriety of behavior, speech, dress, etc. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.